The cold darkness of space held no mercy for the sleeping fleet. 47 ships drifted in the void between stars, their hulls scarred from ancient battles. Inside the massive flagship Eternal Dawn, warning lights began to flash red across empty corridors. Admiral Kang Tae felt the sharp pain of awakening pierce through his mind like ice. His body fought against the cryogenic chamber as warm air rushed into his lungs for the first time in 2 centuries. The metal pod hissed open, releasing clouds of freezing mist into the medical bay. Tae's hands shook as he pulled himself upright. His muscles screamed in protest after the long sleep. Everything felt wrong. The ship's gravity seemed lighter than he remembered. The air tasted different. Even the hum of the engines sounded strange and distant. Emergency protocols had awakened him early. That could only mean one thing. Something was very wrong. He stumbled toward the nearest control panel, his legs weak and unsteady. The screen showed critical system failures across multiple ships. Life support was failing on 3 vessels. The main computer core was running on backup power. Worst of all, their defensive systems were completely offline. Computer, report fleet. Status. Tae commanded, his voice rough from the long sleep. Admiral Tae, current date is March 15th, 2387. Fleet has been in cryogenic sleep for 201 years, 7 months, 12 days. Critical systems require immediate attention. 200 years. The number hit him like a physical blow. They had only planned to sleep for 50 years while traveling to the colony world of New Eden. Something had gone terribly wrong during their journey. Tae made his way to the bridge, moving carefully through corridors he had not walked in centuries. The familiar spaces felt like ghosts of memory. Battle damage from their last fight was still visible on some walls. Burn marks from enemy weapons, holes that had been quickly patched with emergency sealant. The bridge was dark, except for the red glow of emergency lighting. Tae activated the main systems and watched as screens came to life around him. The tactical display showed their current position in space. They were nowhere near New Eden. Instead, they floated in an empty region between star systems. "Wake, Captain. Lee Soo," he ordered the computer. Priority 1 awakening. While he waited for Lee Soo to revive, Tae studied the sensor readings. Space around them was not empty as it appeared. Strange energy signatures drifted past their position. Radio signals, in languages he had never heard before, filled the communication channels. The galaxy had changed while they slept. Captain Lee Soo arrived on the bridge 20 minutes later, still wearing her medical recovery suit. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick movements. Even after 2 centuries of sleep, she moved, with the confidence of a born ship commander. "Admiral, what happened to us?" she asked, taking her position at the tactical station. "That's what we need to find out," Tae replied. "Start awakening senior staff. We need answers." Lee Soo began the revival process for key personnel while Tae accessed the ship's memory banks. Slowly, the events before their long sleep began to come back to him. The war with the hegemony, the desperate battle at Kepler Prime, their fleets, retreat into deep space when Earth's forces were overwhelmed. They had been humanity's last hope. 50,000 civilians and military personnel fleeing to establish a new colony far from the war. But something had forced them into emergency, sleep protocols during their journey. Dr. Park Bo was the 3rd person to reach the bridge. She moved slowly, still recovering from the awakening process. As the fleet's chief medical officer, she had been responsible for monitoring their long sleep. "Doctor, I need a full report on crew status," Tae said. Park Bo accessed her medical systems with practiced efficiency. "All ships are reporting successful awakenings. We lost about 3% of our people during the sleep. That's actually better than expected for such a long period." 3%, Tae repeated quietly. That meant 1,500 people had died while they slept. 1,500 souls who would never see humanity's new home. Commander Yu Jin arrived, next followed by Lieutenant Han Sol, one of their youngest pilots. As the group assembled, Tae felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders once again. These people were depending on him to find answers and keep them safe. "Computer, play back the last recorded events before emergency sleep protocols were activated," Tae ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge as it had been 2 centuries ago. A younger version of himself stood at the command position, his face tense with worry. Warning alarms filled the air. Hegemony pursuit ships detected, his past self said. Long-range sensors show a full battle fleet closing on our position. We cannot outrun them with civilian ships in our convoy. The recording continued. It showed their desperate decision to activate experimental sleep systems while hiding in a nebula cloud. The plan had been to sleep for a few years until the hegemony forces gave up their search. Instead, system failures had kept them unconscious for 2 centuries. Sir, Commander Eugene interrupted the playback. I'm picking up transmissions from nearby space. The languages are unknown, but the technology is far more advanced than anything we faced during the war. Lieutenant Hansol studied the sensor readings from his pilot's perspective. Admiral, these ships are moving at speeds that should be impossible. Their energy signatures suggest weapons and shields beyond our current capabilities. Tay felt a cold dread settling in his stomach. Not only had they lost 2 centuries, but the galaxy had advanced far beyond their technology. Their fleet's weapons and defenses, once cutting edge, were now ancient relics. Dr. Park, I need you to run full medical scans on all awakened personnel, Tay commanded. Something about our long sleep feels different. I want to know what happened to us during those 2 centuries. As Park Bo left to begin her examinations, Tay turned to study the star charts. Their current position was in territory that had been neutral space during the war. Now it appeared to be controlled by unknown forces. Captain Lee Su, begin awakening all ship commanders. We need a full fleet conference within 6 hours. Yes, sir. What should I tell them? Tay looked out at the vast emptiness of space surrounding their fleet. Somewhere out there, humanity might still exist. Earth might still be fighting the war they had fled from. Or it might be nothing but dust and memories. Tell them we have work to do, he said finally. We came out here to build humanity's future. That mission hasn't changed, even if everything else has. As his officers carried out their orders, Admiral Kang Tae stood alone on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn. The forgotten fleet was awakening to a galaxy that had moved on without them. They were relics of an old war, armed with outdated weapons, facing unknown enemies. But they were still human, and humans had never been known to give up without a fight. The fleet conference room aboard the Eternal Dawn buzzed with quiet tension. 47 ship commanders sat around the curved table, their faces showing the strain of recent awakening. Admiral Kang Tae studied each face, seeing his own confusion and worry reflected in their eyes. Captain Lee Su activated the main display screen. Long-range sensors have detected 17 ships approaching our position. They're moving at incredible speeds and will reach us in 4 hours. Captain Kim Do leaned forward from her position near the back of the room. She commanded the stealth frigate Silent Storm, one of their smallest but most advanced ships. Admiral, I've been monitoring their communications. The language is completely unknown, but their signal patterns suggest military coordination. Commander, Eugene stood up and moved to the display controls. I've been analyzing the transmission data for the past 6 hours. These ships belong to something called the Hegemony. From what I can understand, they control this entire region of space. The word hegemony sent a chill through the room. Every commander remembered the original hegemony that had driven them from Earth. But this seemed to be something different, something larger. Sir, Lieutenant Han Sol spoke up from his seat near the tactical station. My pilots have been running simulation tests with our fighters. Our weapon systems are working, but the energy readings from those approaching ships suggest they have shields and armor far beyond anything we've seen before. Dr. Park Bo entered the conference room carrying a data pad filled with medical readings. Her expression was troubled as she took her seat next to the Admiral. Doctor, what did your examinations reveal? Tay asked. Something extraordinary happened to us during the long sleep, Park Bo began. The extended exposure to cosmic radiation, combined with the modified stasis fields, has caused significant changes in our crew members. Reaction times are faster. Spatial awareness is enhanced. Stress resistance has improved dramatically. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They were no longer quite the same humans who had entered sleep 2 centuries ago. "Are we still human?" asked Captain Jang Ho, commander of the heavy cruiser Thunder's Edge. "Completely human," Park Bo assured them. "But we've adapted in ways that might give us advantages we don't yet understand." Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Commander Yu Jin rushed to the communication station and activated the speakers. A voice filled the room, speaking in accented but understandable human language. "Unknown vessels, you are trespassing in hegemony-controlled space. Identify yourselves immediately or face immediate destruction." Admiral Tay moved to the communication console. "This is Admiral Kang Tay of the Human Colonial Fleet. We are peaceful. Travelers seeking safe passage through this region." A long pause followed before the voice responded. "Human. Our records show no active human civilizations in this sector. You are either illegal colonists or remnants of a destroyed species. Either way, you will surrender your ships for processing and integration into hegemony systems." The words hit the assembled commanders like physical blows. Processing and integration. The term sounded ominous and final. "We will not surrender our people," Tay replied firmly. "We request immediate withdrawal from this region and safe passage to neutral space." "There is no neutral space," the voice responded coldly. "The hegemony maintains order throughout this spiral arm of the galaxy. You will comply or be destroyed. You have 30 minutes to prepare for surrender." The communication channel closed, leaving the conference room in heavy silence. Captain Kim Do was the first to speak. "Admiral, I can take Silent Storm on a reconnaissance mission. If we're going to fight, we need to know what we're facing." "Do it," Tay ordered. "But maintain stealth protocols. I want information, not a battle." As Kim Do left to prepare her ship, the remaining commanders began discussing their limited options. Their weapons were outdated but functional. Their ships were battle-tested but old. Their crews were enhanced but inexperienced with their new abilities. "Sir," Lieutenant Hansol said quietly, "my pilots have been talking. Nobody wants to surrender to an unknown fate. If we're going to die, we'd rather die fighting." "Admiral," Tay looked around the room and saw the same determination in every face. These people had already given up everything to build humanity's future. They wouldn't surrender it to aliens without a fight. 30 minutes later, Kim Do's voice crackled over the communication system from her hidden position near the hegemony fleet. "Admiral, I'm seeing 17 heavy warships. Their weapons are energy-based, similar to our plasma cannons but much more powerful. Their shields are rotating frequency barriers that adapt to incoming fire." "What about weaknesses?" Tay asked. "They're flying in perfect formation with precise timing. It looks like their tactics are controlled by central computers rather than individual ship commanders. If we could disrupt their coordination system, they might become vulnerable to unpredictable attacks." The idea sparked something in Admiral Tay's mind. Humans had always been known for their ability to adapt and improvise. Maybe their outdated technology combined with enhanced reflexes could create advantages that computer-controlled enemies couldn't predict. "All ships prepare for combat," Tay announced over the fleet communication system. "We're going to show these hegemony forces that humanity is not as helpless as they believe." Captain Lee Su began coordinating defensive positions while Lieutenant Han Sol prepared his fighter squadrons. The pilots were eager to test their enhanced abilities in real combat. As the hegemony ships approached, their formations remained perfectly aligned. Long-range scans showed weapon systems charging and shield generators building power. They clearly expected an easy victory against the primitive human fleet. "Sir," Dr. Park Bo said from her position at the medical station, "crew stress levels are actually decreasing as we approach combat. The enhanced stress resistance is working. Our people are thinking more clearly under pressure than they ever could before." Admiral Tay smiled grimly as he watched the enemy ships closing distance. The hegemony expected to face desperate refugees with outdated weapons. Instead, they were about to encounter something they had never seen before. Humans who had evolved beyond their original limitations, fighting with the fury of a species that refused to surrender. "All ships, maintain positions until they enter our weapons range," Tay commanded. "Let them come to us. Then we'll show them what forgotten humanity can do." The stage was set for a battle that would determine whether the human fleet would survive to reclaim their destiny among the hostile stars. The space between the two fleets crackled with tension as the hegemony ships moved into attack formation. Admiral Kang Tae stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching 17 alien warships approach with mechanical precision. Their dark hulls gleamed with energy shields that shimmered like oil on water. "All ships report ready for combat," Captain Lee Su announced from her position at the tactical station. The Iron Will hung in space alongside the flagship, its weapons charged, and crew prepared for battle. Lieutenant Han Sol's voice came through the communication system from the fighter bay. "Admiral, all squadrons are ready for launch. Pilots are reporting enhanced vision and reaction times. We're seeing things in space we never noticed before." Engineer Nam Yi had spent the last hour making final adjustments to their weapon systems. She looked up from her console with excitement in her eyes. "Sir, I've managed to boost our plasma cannon output by 30%. The enhanced coordination between our crew members is allowing for much more precise targeting than our systems were designed for." The lead hegemony ship, a massive vessel twice the size of the Eternal Dawn, began broadcasting on all frequencies. "Human fleet, this is Battlemaster Veltar of the Hegemony Enforcement Division. You have ignored our lawful orders to surrender. We will now demonstrate the consequences of defying hegemony authority." Admiral Tae opened the communication channel. "Battlemaster Veltar, we are peaceful travelers who wish no conflict with your people. Allow us to leave this region and we will trouble you no more." "There is no leaving," Veltar replied coldly. "The galaxy belongs to the hegemony now. All species serve the greater good or are eliminated. You will surrender immediately or face destruction." A second voice cut through the transmission, speaking more softly than the first. "Battlemaster, perhaps we should attempt negotiation. These humans appear to be refugees rather than invaders." "Consul Jix, your diplomatic concerns are noted but irrelevant," Veltar responded sharply. "Orders are clear. Unknown species are to be processed or eliminated." Admiral Tae realized that even within the hegemony forces there were those who preferred peaceful solutions. But the military commanders were clearly in control of this situation. "All ships execute Plan Delta," Tae commanded. It was a formation they had developed during the Old War, designed to maximize their firepower while protecting their weaker vessels. The human fleet began moving in a pattern that looked chaotic to outside observers but followed a complex dance of mutual support. Each ship covered the blind spots of its neighbors while maintaining clear firing lanes toward the enemy. The hegemony ships responded by tightening their formation and increasing speed. Their computer-controlled systems calculated the optimal attack pattern and began implementing it with perfect coordination. "Enemy ships opening fire," Lee Su reported as brilliant beams of energy lashed out from the alien fleet. The first hegemony salvo struck the human shields with devastating force. 3 ships reported critical damage within seconds. The alien weapons were indeed far more powerful than anything the humans had faced before. "Return fire," Admiral Tae ordered. The human response was immediate, but seemed pitiful compared to the enemy barrage. Their plasma cannons sent orange streams of energy toward the hegemony ships, only to splash harmlessly against the adaptive shields. "Their shields are rotating frequencies faster than our weapons can adapt," Engineer Nam Yi reported. "We need a way to overload them or find a gap in their defenses." Lieutenant Han Sol launched his fighter squadrons at that moment, sending 60 small craft racing toward the enemy fleet. The fighters moved in swirling patterns that seemed random, but actually followed the enhanced spatial awareness of their pilots. "Fighter squadrons engaging," Han Sol reported. "Sir, something strange is happening. I can predict where the enemy will shoot before they fire. It's like I can feel their targeting systems thinking." The fighters began weaving through the hegemony, point defense fire with impossible grace. Their enhanced reflexes allowed them to react to threats before their instruments even detected them. Several pilots managed to slip past the shields during frequency transitions and score hits on enemy. Hull's Captain Kim Do brought the Silent Storm out of hiding behind a nearby asteroid. Her stealth frigate had been studying the hegemony formation, looking for weaknesses in their coordination. "Admiral, I've found something," Kim Do transmitted. "Their ships are linked by a command frequency. If we can disrupt it, Their perfect coordination should collapse. "Do it," Tay ordered without hesitation. The silent storm fired a specially modified pulse directly at the hegemony command ship. The weapon had been designed to disrupt enemy communications during the Old War, but Nam Yi had enhanced it using their improved understanding of alien technology. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The hegemony ships began firing at random targets, their computer systems confused by the communication breakdown. Their perfect formations scattered as individual. Ships tried to implement different tactical programs simultaneously. "All ships press the attack," Admiral Tay commanded. "Target their command vessel while they're disorganized." Captain Jang Ho brought the Thunder's Edge into close range with the enemy flagship. The heavy cruiser absorbed tremendous damage as hegemony weapons hammered its shields, but the enhanced crew maintained their positions and continued fighting even as their ship shook apart around them. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, Jang Ho reported calmly. "Continuing attack run." The Thunder's Edge fired its main guns at point-blank range into the hegemony command ship. The alien vessel's shields finally collapsed under the sustained assault, and explosions began rippling across its hull. Marine Colonel Shin Ai had been waiting for this moment. "Boarding shuttles away," she announced as her assault craft launched from the Thunder's Edge. The Marine boarding parties demonstrated the terrifying effectiveness of enhanced human soldiers in close combat. Where the alien crew relied on their superior technology, the humans adapted instantly to changing conditions inside the enemy ship. "Command center secured," Colonel Shin A reported 20 minutes later. "We have prisoners and captured data systems." The battle continued for another hour, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. With their command ship captured and their coordination disrupted, the remaining hegemony vessels began withdrawing from the fight. "Battlemaster Veltar is requesting communication," Commander Yu Jin announced. "Put him through," Admiral Tay ordered. "Admiral Tay?" Veltar's voice was different now, filled with surprise and grudging respect. "Your forces fight with unexpected skill. This engagement is concluded, but the hegemony will remember what happened here." "As will we, Battlemaster," Tay replied. "Tell your leaders that humanity has returned to the galaxy." As the surviving hegemony ships disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Tay surveyed the cost of their victory. 3 human ships had been destroyed and hundreds of crew members killed. But they had proven something important to themselves and their enemies. Humanity was no longer the desperate refugee fleet that had fled Earth 2 centuries ago. They had become something new, something dangerous. The Forgotten Fleet had announced their return to the galaxy in the only language that hostile stars understood, the language of strength. The captured hegemony command ship floated beside the eternal dawn like a dark metal cathedral. Admiral Kang Tae walked through its twisted corridors with Dr. Park Bo and engineer Nam Yi, studying the alien technology that had nearly destroyed them just days before. "The ship's computer systems are incredible," Nam Yi said as she examined a control panel covered in glowing symbols. "Their processing power is centuries ahead of ours, but the programming is rigid. Everything follows predetermined patterns, with no room for creative thinking." Dr. Park Bo scanned one of the alien crew members they had captured. The being looked like a tall insect with 4 arms and compound eyes. "Admiral, their biology is fascinating. This species appears to be bred specifically for ship operations. Enhanced reflexes for their tasks, but limited problem-solving ability." Admiral Tay studied the information with growing understanding. "They've created a galaxy of specialists. Each species designed for specific roles, all controlled by central authority." Commander Yu Jin approached them carrying a data pad filled with intelligence gathered from the captured ship. "Sir, what we've learned changes everything. The hegemony controls over 300 star systems. They have dozens of member species, but most joined under threat of destruction." "Any sign of rebellion?" Tay asked. "Several underground resistance movements," Yu Jin confirmed. "The most significant appears to be the Cathari. They were conquered 50 years ago but never fully integrated. Their home system is only 6 light years from here." Ambassador Choi Min had been awakened from cryogenic sleep specifically to handle diplomatic contact with alien species. She was an elderly woman with sharp intelligence and decades of experience in interstellar negotiations. "Admiral, I believe we should attempt contact with these Cathari, she suggested. If they're already fighting the hegemony, they might be willing to ally with us. Captain Seo Wu looked up from her examination of the hegemony navigation systems. She commanded the science vessel Deep Thought and had been analyzing the alien, faster-than-light travel technology. Sir, I've discovered something important about their hyperspace drives. The hegemony ships all use a centralized navigation network. If we could disrupt that network, we could trap entire fleets in normal space. The implications were staggering. The hegemony's greatest advantage was their ability to move fleets instantly across vast distances. Without that mobility, their numerical superiority would be much less effective. Lieutenant Han Sol entered the alien bridge where the command staff had gathered. His fighter squadron had been conducting reconnaissance missions throughout the local region. Admiral, we've located a hegemony prison facility 3 systems away. Long-range scans show thousands of life signs behind energy barriers. It appears to be where they keep species that refuse to cooperate. The moral weight of this discovery hung heavy in the recycled air of the alien ship. How many civilizations were trapped in hegemony prisons, waiting for rescue that might never come? We have a choice to make, Admiral Tay said quietly. We could try to find a quiet corner of the galaxy and rebuild our lives in peace, or we can fight to free these enslaved species. Captain Li Su stepped forward without hesitation. Sir, we didn't survive 2 centuries in space just to hide from bullies. If there are people in cages, we have a duty to break those cages open. The agreement was unanimous among the command staff, but Tay knew it would be different when he addressed the full fleet. Many of their people had already lost everything once. Asking them to risk their lives again for alien strangers would not be easy. That evening, Admiral Tay broadcast to every ship in the fleet. 50,000 people listened as he explained what they had learned about the hegemony and the choice that lay before them. We came out here to build humanity's future, he said. I believe that future cannot be built on the suffering of others. We have the power to make a difference in this galaxy. The question is whether we have the courage to use it. The response surprised even Tay with its overwhelming support. Crew members volunteered for dangerous missions. Engineers worked around the clock to integrate captured alien technology into human systems. Pilots practiced new tactics designed to exploit hegemony weaknesses. Dr. Park Bo made another startling discovery during her continued medical examinations. Admiral, the genetic changes in our people are accelerating. Extended combat stress is triggering additional adaptations. Our crews are becoming more efficient at processing multiple information streams simultaneously. Engineer Nam Yi had successfully integrated hegemony shield technology with human power systems. The hybrid defenses were stronger than either technology alone could achieve. The alien shields adapt to energy patterns, she explained. But our human intuition allows us to vary those patterns in ways their computers cannot predict. We're creating defenses that adapt faster than their weapons can compensate. Pilot Officer Lim Da had become Lieutenant Han Sol's wingmate and closest friend during their recent battles. She brought news from the fighter squadrons that both excited and worried the command staff. Sir, our pilots are reporting enhanced spatial awareness that extends far beyond normal sensor range. Some can detect enemy ships before our instruments pick them up. It's like we're developing a sixth sense for space combat. Ambassador Choi Min successfully made contact with the Cathari resistance through captured hegemony communication systems. The aliens were crystalline beings who could manipulate energy directly through their bodies. They're willing to meet with us, she reported. But they're suspicious of any species claiming to oppose the hegemony. Too many false promises have been made before. Captain Kim Do volunteered to transport Ambassador Choi Min to the meeting in the Silent Storm. The stealth frigate could avoid hegemony patrols while carrying the diplomatic team to neutral territory. The meeting with the Cathari changed everything. Their leader, a being of living crystal named Resonance, had been fighting the hegemony for decades with limited success. Your victory over Battlemaster Veltar has given hope to resistance movements throughout this region. Resonance communicated through harmonic vibrations that the human translators could barely interpret. But hope alone will not free our people. Ambassador, Choi Min presented a proposal that stunned the Cathari delegation. "We're not just offering to fight alongside you. We're offering to coordinate a simultaneous uprising across multiple systems. The hegemony's strength comes from their ability to concentrate forces quickly. If we can force them to fight on dozens of fronts at once, their advantages disappear." The alliance was formalized 3 days later. Cathari energy manipulation technology, combined with human tactical flexibility, created new possibilities neither species had imagined alone. But the real breakthrough came when Captain Seo Wu successfully tested her hyperspace disruption system. A single modified human ship could prevent an entire hegemony fleet from escaping a battle. "We're no longer just survivors running from persecution," Admiral Tay announced to the combined human and Cathari forces. "We're freedom fighters with the power to reshape this galaxy." The Forgotten Fleet had found their new purpose among the hostile stars. They would not just reclaim their own legacy. They would build a legacy of liberty for every species brave enough to stand with them. The massive combined fleet moved through hyperspace toward the hegemony core worlds like a storm gathering strength. Admiral Kang Tae stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching hundreds of ships from dozens of liberated species travel, together in unprecedented unity. 6 months had passed since the alliance with the Cathari began. The resistance had grown from a desperate human fleet into a galactic liberation movement. Oppressed species throughout the region had joined their cause, bringing unique technologies and burning desire for freedom. Captain Lee Su coordinated the complex battle formations from her position aboard the Iron Will. Human tactical thinking, combined with alien technologies, had created ship designs that the hegemony could never predict or counter effectively. "All task forces, report ready for final approach," she announced. Coalition Forces number 837 ships representing 23 liberated species. Engineer Nam Yi had spent months perfecting the integration of multiple alien technologies into human ship systems. Each vessel in the fleet was now unique, carrying weapons and defenses that adapted constantly to changing battle conditions. "Admiral, our hybrid technology systems are performing beyond all projections," she reported with barely contained excitement. "The combination of human intuition with alien precision has created capabilities that neither could achieve alone." Lieutenant Han Sol, now promoted to squadron leader, prepared his fighter wings for the assault on the hegemony central command. His pilots had trained alongside Cathari energy manipulators and other alien species, creating combat techniques that defied traditional space warfare doctrine. "Sir, fighter squadrons are reporting enhanced coordination with our alien allies," Han Sol transmitted from his command fighter. "The Cathari can channel energy directly to our weapons during combat. It's like having the power of a capital ship in a fighter-sized package." The first sign of hegemony resistance came when they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the core system. Thousands of enemy ships waited in defensive formations around the system's primary world, their dark hulls blocking out entire sections of stars. Battlemaster Veltar's voice echoed across all communication frequencies. "Admiral Tay, you have exceeded all expectations. But this ends here. The core worlds are defended by the full might of the hegemony. Surrender now, and your people will be granted peaceful integration." Admiral Tay opened a channel to address both fleets. "Battlemaster Veltar, we offer the hegemony one final chance for peaceful resolution. Release all conquered species and allow them to choose their own destiny. In return, we will help you build a true cooperative alliance based on mutual respect." "The galaxy requires order," Veltar replied coldly. "The hegemony provides that order. Your chaos will not be permitted to spread." The battle began with a massive exchange of energy weapons that lit up space like a new star. Hegemony forces attacked with overwhelming firepower, but their rigid formations and predictable tactics allowed the coalition forces to anticipate and counter their moves. Captain Jang Ho brought the Thunder's Edge into the thick of the fighting. His heavy cruiser now equipped with Cathari energy shields that could absorb and redirect enemy fire back at its source. The enhanced human crew operated the complex hybrid systems with intuitive understanding that amazed their alien allies. "Coalition forces, begin Operation Freedom," Admiral Tay commanded. Across the battlefield, human ships activated Captain SEO. Wu's hyperspace disruption systems. The effect was immediate and devastating to hegemony tactics. Enemy reinforcements found themselves trapped in normal space, unable to retreat or receive support from other systems. Pilot Officer Lim Da led her squadron in a desperate attack run against the Hegemony Command Center. Her enhanced reflexes allowed her to navigate through defensive fire that would have destroyed any normal pilot, while her Ketheri wingmates channeled pure energy into her weapon systems. "Target locked," she announced as her fighter dove toward the massive space station that coordinated hegemony forces throughout the galaxy. Beginning final attack run. The command station's defenses were incredible, filling space with deadly energy beams and defensive drones. But Lim Da and her mixed-species squadron moved through the chaos with deadly grace, their enhanced abilities allowing them to react faster than the automated defenses could track. Marine Colonel Shin A prepared her assault forces for the final boarding action. Her Marines now included warriors from every liberated species, creating the most diverse military unit in galactic history. "All boarding craft away," she announced, as hundreds of assault shuttles launched toward the enemy command station. "Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to liberate." The fighting inside the Hegemony Command Center was unlike anything in recorded military history. Human Marines with enhanced stress resistance fought alongside crystal beings who could walk through solid matter and insectoid species with natural armor plating. Colonel Shin A's forces adapted to each new challenge with the flexibility that had always been humanity's greatest strength. When energy weapons failed, they used physical force. When armor was too strong, they found weak points. When traditional tactics failed, they improvised new ones. "Command center secured," she reported 40 minutes after the assault began. "We have control of the Hegemony Central Coordination Systems." With their command structure disabled, the Hegemony fleet began to fall apart. Individual ships found themselves isolated and overwhelmed by coalition forces that could adapt their tactics faster than enemy computers could process new threats. Admiral Tay received a communication request from an unexpected source. It was Consul Jix, the diplomatic voice he had heard during their first encounter with Hegemony forces. "Admiral Tay, I represent a significant faction within the Hegemony Council that believes in peaceful coexistence," Zix said. "We are prepared to negotiate a complete restructuring of galactic government if you will halt your attack." The offer was everything they had fought for, but Admiral Tay knew that victory in battle was only the beginning of their real challenge. Ambassador. Choi Min spent the next week in intensive negotiations with moderate hegemony leaders and representatives from dozens of liberated species. The result was the Galactic Cooperative, a voluntary alliance where each species contributed their strengths while maintaining complete autonomy. Dr. Park Bo's final medical reports revealed that the genetic changes in the human population were now permanent and heritable. Future generations would possess the enhanced abilities that had made their victory possible. "We're not just survivors anymore," she told Admiral Tay as they stood in the observation deck of their new headquarters station. "We've become something new, something better." The space around them buzzed with activity, as ships from dozens of species worked together to build a new civilization. Where the hegemony had imposed order through force, the cooperative created harmony through cooperation. Captain Seo Wu brought Admiral Tay the final surprise of their long journey. Her science teams had detected signals from the direction of Earth, transmitted using old human communication protocols. "Sir, the signals aren't distress calls," she reported with wonder in her voice. "They're congratulations. Earth survived the war and has been watching our struggle through long-range sensors. They're proud of what we've accomplished." Admiral Tay looked out at the fleet of ships representing the free peoples of the galaxy. 2 centuries ago, they had fled Earth as desperate refugees with no home and no hope. Now they had become the founders of a new age of galactic civilization. The forgotten fleet had awakened to reclaim more than their lost legacy. They had claimed the destiny of an entire galaxy. Among the hostile stars, they had planted the seeds of freedom that would grow for generations to come.